Hi. No? Yes, the red light's blinking. I hope that means it's recording. Welcome. My name is Robyn, and this is my first episode of Robyn2Resale. I wanted to introduce myself and tell you a little bit about what this journey is going to be, and it is going to be a journey. First, I'm very new at creating content, so I'm going to be learning from you all, from myself. Happy to get constructive feedback. And while we are on this journey, you'll learn about me, a little bit about my family, how I got into reselling, what I do for reselling, how I pick things I pick, and where I sell them. So I am a little bit unconventional. I'm totally unfiltered, and I'm painstakingly honest. So if those things sound like a fun thing to watch and learn, then you're in the right place. If not, yeah, that's just what you're going to get. I'm sure there's plenty of other videos and YouTubes out there you can learn from, but that's just who I am. I do go off on tangents, and so we may have a topic and then it may change, but I will try to stay on it. I have a little bit of an outline that I like to follow, or else I won't be able to focus at all. So basically, I'm a native of New Orleans. I am displaced for the past 25 years, but I created a life in the DC suburbs. I graduated from college and grad school and was a general education teacher and then a special education teacher. I had my first child in 2007, who is an amazing human being, and I stayed home with her for a very long time, like still. And then 5 years later, we had another little bundle of me, and that's been a different experience. She's also wonderful too. It's just crazy to watch yourself grow up again. So I love it. My oldest is a lot like my husband, and my youngest is a lot like me. So it's different. It's exciting. It's fun. I didn't start reselling until this past June of 2021, in the middle of a pandemic, and it was not because I was looking for something else to do. I was already a long-term sub at the time, virtually, but I had gone back home to our house in New Orleans that my mom was trying to sell, and she was cleaning out, and there were a couple of items that she just didn't want to donate or move. So she asked me to help her sell this one dress. It was new with tags, and it was St. John. And St. John's a little mature for my age. It was my size. My mom and I are the same size. She's actually smaller than me. I just don't feel like in my 40s I'm ready for St. John yet. So I didn't know where to sell it. And she said, sell it. So I did some research, and I ended up going to the Real. But before we go to the dress and what happened with the dress, I want to back up and start with my reselling journey, which is pretty short. Of course, I can make it long, because I always say to make a short story long, because that's what I do. I make short stories long. I first started reselling, I guess, in college, but I didn't know I was reselling. My mom had paid for my books when I was in college, and I did a textbook buyback thing, and it was pretty cool. Like, I think I got cash, very little compared to what my mother had paid for them, but it was cash in my hand. But I also learned that if I went around my dorm room and got other books that weren't textbooks and they scanned them, they'd take them back. This was in the 90s, mid to late 90s, sorry. So, I don't know what they did with them. And then after college, before kids, I bought a ton of Lilly Pulitzers, because I love Lilly Pulitzer. And I paid retail. Well, not necessarily retail. I would pay sale prices only. I've always been a sales shopper. And so I forgot my whole childhood. We're going to have to go back to that too. Okay, so basically I had the lilies, and oh, now I gotta start over. No, I don't. I'll just add them in. Okay. Okay, so I have to back up even more. Before we go into the reselling journey, I have to tell you about my shopping problem. I have very little experience with thrifting before this year. When I was little, I think my mom volunteered at like the thrift store for her organization that she was volunteer of, and we got a dress for my 6th birthday party called Dress Up Like Your Mommy. And it was this red dress off the shoulder, or maybe it was supposed to be on the shoulder. I don't know. It was big, fluffy collar thing, and I wore pearls, and it was a ton of fun. That's really the only experience I had in a thrift store, other than bringing donations, up until this past 10 months, 9-10 months. So, but that doesn't mean I wasn't on the hunt for a bargain. I always was a bargain shopper. When I was younger, my mother and I used to go to Foley, Alabama, and for a couple of days, and we would go to the outlet malls, and we'd pull up to J. Crew, and it was like, oh, because, you know, when you're in middle school, J. Crew was like the biggest thing ever, and it was like one of the only outlets. It was over 3 hours away, and we would stay at the beach and drive back, and that's how we started outlet shopping. And we found this amazing restaurant that is still there, I hope, called The Gift Horse. And they make fried biscuits. Again, tangent, sorry. But if you're ever near the panhandle of Florida, Alabama, well, it'll be Florida's panhandle, the northern part by Pensacola, find Foley, Alabama, and find The Gift Horse restaurant. Amazing. Okay, so then every once in a while, actually not very often, we would go to Houston and check into the Galleria, and we'd go to all the nice stores there. You know, there was Neiman's and Tiffany's and all those things, and of course there's Banana and, you know, Gap, and that's where I'd end up buying most of my stuff. But it was still fun to look. It was amazing. I loved it. So we went there, and when I was 10, we went on a trip to Boston, and my mom took me to the Real Filings department store in Boston. And this was the bins before there was the bins. The basement in the Real Filings was wired bins filled with things from different departments. And I remember oogling over the shoes and the purses and all sorts of things. And it was fun. And then when I was in college and my sister finished grad school, we went to the Boston area again for her graduation, and I went to the Filings with my grandparents. And my grandmother was a very proper woman who knew about how to be elegant yet understated, which is something I aspire, but it doesn't happen. I'm neither. But I do aspire to be. Anyway, I'm more like my grandpa, her husband, than her. And she was proper, and she dressed beautifully, and her hair was always done, and her nails were always done, and she wore Ferragamo 5.5B. And she had a collection, and no scuff on any of them. I don't know what she did not to scuff them up, but they weren't scuffed. I think basically because my grandpa would like drop her off right where they were going. And anyway, she also wore St. John knit a lot. And so I learned about nice things from her. So I found her a pair of 5.5B Ferragamos at Filing's basement, the real one. And I handed them to her, and she was like, no thank you. And I was like, what are you talking about? It's a Ferragamo. It's 5.5B. They're brand new. But I got them out of a wired container in the basement of Filing's, and they had Sharpie written on the bottom. And I now know how to get Sharpie off the bottom of them. But at the time I didn't, and she wasn't interested. My feelings were hurt. I did, however, get a beautiful white Ferragamo bag that I used until I wore it out. And then I don't know what I did. I think I donated it. So that was it for a while. I was 10. that was how it began. Okay, so when did I start reselling? Well, technically when I was in college, and I did the textbook buyback thing, and I found out that they would buy back books that weren't like officially bought at their bookstore. So I had any book, I just brought it in because it was awesome. And then when I was teaching, I became a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator because my boss was one, and it was so awesome, and I loved scrapbooking and card making, and I needed a hobby. So as an active demonstrator, you could not sell stamps on eBay unless they were discontinued. And I didn't really do it to do the multi-level marketing thing. That didn't work for me. I did it because, like, it was fun, and I got to get a lot of stuff, and no recruiting or anything like that. But I had too much stuff, so I would sell it on eBay, and this was in the early 2000s. So they had just started to use PayPal maybe, or I was just comfortable using PayPal. You had to like wait for checks to clear and things like that. Maybe even money orders. I can't remember. It was wild. So, but I lost that PayPal account. I mean that eBay account, unfortunately, and all the feedback. Some was negative, some was positive. People didn't like the way I priced shipping. People didn't like this, whatever. But the cool thing was I taught my stepmother-in-law how to eBay, and she was an antique dealer, and so that was neat. I felt like, yay, I'm teaching, and that was about it. And every once in a while, there was this really nice consignment shop I would bring my stuff to, but my stuff wasn't necessarily their quality, but they did like Lily Pulitzer, so I'd bring them some stuff of that and get a check every once in a while. Nothing major. And then I had the kids, and I sold the maternity clothes to a local buy-sell trade, and I would sell the kids' clothes and buy some kids' clothes and all those sort of things. And that was it until this past May and June of 2021 in New Orleans, and my mom's like, I have a dress for you that I need you to sell. And I have been listening to podcasts, and I was listening to ones about cleaning out and organizing and where to sell things and blah, 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 blah. And I had taken some notes, and I've heard about Poshmark. Obviously, I knew about eBay. And one of my favorite podcasts that I've been a Patreon for over a year, maybe 2, I don't know, is Crime and Sports or Small Town Murder. These 2 guys, James and Jimmy, and they're comedians, and they're awesome, and they're crass, and they say certain things that I definitely cannot eat when I listen to their podcast because then I'll lose my appetite. But they were sponsored by The Real Real right around this time or at some point, and it stuck in my head. So I remembered it, and I tried to use their code, but since I wasn't buying, I was selling. I don't think it mattered. So I set up an appointment for The Real Real, and I had a virtual rep come on the phone. Her name was Allie, and she was in New York, and for the first 30 days I had her, and she was great. So after I sent the first dress in and 30-something other items, I was kind of wondering, well, what do they take? Because they didn't take my stuff. So I went shopping, and Allie gave me like a little bit of a list, the top few brands and stuff. And my most exciting find, there were 2, my most exciting find that sold like really quickly was this Levin tote bag from Paris, and it sounded like a brand I think Mark had like one of the dress shirts or a tie from or something, and we had put it in the pile, so I'm like, ooh, I'll grab that. I looked it up. I paid $9 for it. I don't know what it sold for, but I know my commission, so this is when I'm brand new, so I think the commission was probably only 55%. My commission was $129.80. So I made $123 off of the first like big like what? And I couldn't believe it. Another one that shocked me. This is when I was like, okay, this is something I need to do. I found this not very attractive cream sweater, but again, it felt good, and the tag was fancy, and it said Paris in it. So I am a sucker for like Paris, London, and Italian clothing, shoes, and handbags and whatever. So this tan Emilio Ungaro. Oh my God, I didn't realize that. I paid $5.50 for it. It just sold. Now, it was listed in June. This was like in the second pile. So it was marked down. I think it's sold. I don't have it exactly because I haven't gotten the commission for it yet because it just sold. We are in February of 2022. And it sold, originally was listed over $400. You should have seen my chin. I was like, I called my husband, Mark, look at this. And he's like, oh my God. And it sold, it was probably 75% off by the time it sold, so I think it sold for like $100. The cool thing is I'm in 70% now, so I made $70 minus $5. I mean, it's like $65 on it, which is exciting. I know it's not that much money, but when you realize I had no clue what I was doing, and I turned a profit, that's exciting. So I got hooked, and along the way, I will let you know more about what I do, how I do it, why I do it, and the awesome community that I'm a part of, because I meet other people, and I've learned so much from everyone that has been around before me, and I'm just hoping to spread that with you guys and give you some knowledge and excitement and fun and creativity about other ways to either start thrifting, side hustling, reselling, or just entertaining. All right, guys, so thank you so much for joining me on my first Robyn2Resale. Make sure to like and subscribe. My 9-year-old made sure that I would say that to you. Make sure to like and subscribe. Have a great day, and I hope to see you around on my journey. Thanks.